let's show you how I do it, and then I'll break it apart so you can understand all those pieces, so that when you do get the guide I'll send you later, the prompt guide, you'll be able to replace the correct parts with the bits that you need, like you'll see like colors and fonts and brand positionings and logos and things like that. So first of all, I'm going to go to Gamma, where this is where I do all of my we call it like presentations. So here we go, developing self-acceptance. Some of the ones I've done recently, self-acceptance as an entrepreneurial founder, digital marketing that actually works, playing the long game. I might just choose this playing the long game one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this or share it. If it's PowerPoint, you can just load up the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to export this one to PDF, I think. I don't need the size of a PowerPoint slide deck. So I'm going to export that to PDF. And then I'm going to take that and put it into a pre-built Gemini gem. Now, this kind of thing can be done in ChatGPT or in Claude as well. You're going to struggle to get this right in the free versions, though, because you have limited use of things like GPTs on ChatGPT, or things like, Claude projects on a free version of Claude. But I'm gonna do this in all three. They're in the paid versions. Google's Gemini is probably the most generous of all these to get this sort of thing out of. So what I've done, I've set up a thing called Clickstarter Online Guides. I've pinned it over here on the left of my Gemini gems. Gems are like GPTs in ChatGPT, or projects in ChatGPT as well. They're a very similar thing over on Claude called projects, and another thing called artifacts, which is similar to GPTs. Excuse me. Okay, so what I will do first is I'll go into my Clickstarter Online Guides, which has got a sequence of questions it's going to ask when I type in the word start. So this is what I've programmed it to do. Don't worry when I say the word program, I'm not telling you to code anything. It's literally just writing out a set of instructions, which I will provide to you via email from the Eventbrite booking system just after this. So it's starting off. I'm ready to help you build a Clickstarter online guide. To help get started with it, what would you like to name the name of it? What would you like to name your guide? So the name I'm going to give it is Playing the Long Game in Business and Life, because that's what our presentation was about. Notice there, I've got Canvas selected. So I preset that in my gem to select Canvas. It'll be the same in ChatGPT. We're going to do that in ChatGPT as well, and in Claude, which is just saying that I'm using a specific tool set within these tool systems to do this. I'm actually using Fast, which is the default, or the what you call it, the free version of Gemini here, because it does a really good job of this, particularly when it's drawing from your own materials and your own programming. It doesn't actually do that much a better job on the pro version. So I just use the Fast version. So I'm going to hit, yep, let's go. And it's going to ask me next, what is the material that I want to include in this? So it's saying step 2, paste or load in the transcript or base material you'd like me to use for the content. So I'm going to go plus, upload the file, and it's going to be this PDF, 5 megabytes. So it's going to take that material. I'm going to add in a little bit more interesting info in there, because I know what info is in there, but I want it to go further. Please expand on the loaded base material with more examples, quizzes, and graphics to make this guide 200% longer. And also, so because it's going to have a sort of default position, I'm telling it to go beyond the default, to go longer, more information, more quizzes, more examples, more graphics. And I'm going to say also more interactive and engaging, because I want this thing to be clicky, and you're able to do a lot more with it. So let's hit go on that one. So it's going to load in my materials in the PDF, take my instructions I've done, based upon the instructions I've already provided elsewhere. Is now going to go, okay, so what kind of, what is the call to action you want? The call to action you've already told me to, which is to book a consultation with me, and there's the link through to it. Do you want me to do that? Or do you want something else? So I'm just going to go continue, because I've already got the idea of the call to action I want. And now what it's going to do, take all that information, and based upon the instructions, which I'll show you very soon, it's going to build that online guide. So it's going to go into Canvas mode. So it's going, who's the audience? Who is it for? Now it goes into Canvas, which is the code mode, and it's building that in code. So you can see it writing the code as it goes along. As I keep sort of scrolling down, you can see it continuing to code that up. It'll take a minute or so to do that. just to be clever, I'm going to go over to ChatGPT and do exactly the same thing. So it's just on auto mode, so which is what you'll get for the free version as well. You do get a lot more allowance to upload files in this. I don't have one in here already. So what I'll do, I'm going to grab, I don't believe I've got the online guides in here. So I'm going to grab the details last on this one. I do have a version of this in my Claude projects, though. I think, do I? Yes, I do. There. So I've already created a version of this in Claude. So I'm going to go start in there. Oops, star. That hopefully it works out what that is. I'm using the pro version of Claude. You don't necessarily need the full Sonnet 4.6. You just need one that's really good at coding. So I'm going to go playing the long game in business and life, just like we did with the other one. It's going to ask me to upload the materials. So I'm going to upload the files, playing the long game. And I'm going to take the same thing I told in Gemini. Look, it's already built it over in Gemini. It's very colorful, very nice. It's got all my branding all over it. It's got clickiness. It's got, here's the very interactive, not very interactive at the moment, but I can make it more interactive. So it's got a mini quiz. So you can take a mini quiz, run into a complex technical problem project. Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel curious? And it's giving me a set of things. So if a major competitor launched a similar feature, would you stick to your plan knowing your edge is long-term mastery? Are you building this project primarily because it's a hot market right now, or it's a problem you personally cared about? Then it says, yep, I'm playing the long game. So I can reset the quiz and start again. So I've got a little quiz, got this a little bit thinking in waves, go head down mode or head up mode. So it's got lots of interactives to it. And look at this, a graphical representation of the compound effect pyramid. Really cool. Like it's done a bloody good job of that. And then this clicks through to my booking calendar as well. So that's really nice. It's inherited all my colors, all my fonts, my style, rounded corners on boxes, all the things that I want. Very, very like clear kind of design. It fits with my website. So I'm really happy with that. What I'm going to do though, I'm going to take the instructions I gave earlier and put those into Claude as well, just in case you're using Claude. So I'm using Claude a lot lately. So I'm doing the same thing, loading that in just so you can see the difference. ChatGPT, I haven't preset this, so I'll show you what I'll do if you were setting this up for the first time. Oh, back there, back to Claude. Here we go. So the call to action is going to say continue. So just like in Gemini, it's very fast. Claude's really good at doing this stuff. It's a very good coding tool. So here it is. It's reading its skills that it needs to bring in. So it's a front-end design skill. Let's see. It's putting together the structure. It's an interactive guide structure. Now it's going over into its HTML. So it's going to put that together. So it's using parts of the Claude Code product to put this together. And it's taking a little while to do that. So what I'm going to do is pop over, grab my details from my online guide here. So I've got edit on that guide. I'll get all the things I've done. So I'm going to create one under a project in here, projects. I'm going to go new project. This is our ChatGPT, by the way. I'm calling it Click Starter Online Guides. This is why people don't go, how do you have the time to do all this? It's because I don't. I literally get it to put all this stuff together. So over here, I need to sort of put in some preferences around it. Up here, I'll go project settings, instructions. I'm going to put all those instructions in from Gemini. So here's my instructions. They're quite a long set of instructions. I'm going to say memory, default's fine. I'm going to go save. I've got no pre-given files that I need to put in there. It doesn't need any files. If I go start here now, that should now start the process and do exactly the same thing as I did before. Pop back to Claude. It's still building out its guide. Gemini is very, very fast at this. You probably notice. They put a lot of processing power into Gemini. So what it's done is made things go just that little bit faster for everything. That's very cool. Very, very, very quick. So back to where I was. Okay, let's go. What's the name of the guide? So in ChatGPT, I want to call that playing the long game in business. I should be able to get this flawlessly written by now and live. And then I'm going to copy in the instructions I had over on there on that one I just did before. Go in here. Find my previous one so I can get the same instructions that I gave it. There we go. Now, my instructions I wanted were to load up that PDF plus get those bits of extra requirements. So I'm going to do that. Back over here. Let's upload it. Playing the long game. Add the extra information I want. It's loading that in. Okay, here we go. And we can go. And it's going to now ask me if I want to use the same. So notice how I'm using the same exact instructions. I just copied and pasted them over from Gemini into ChatGPT, and it's doing that sequence as well, which what it means is if you have every version, like you have like me, you got Claude, you got Gemini, you got ChatGPT as well, you can use them all. Like it's pretty amazing. So it's looking at, okay, it's giving a review of the thing. I didn't really want it to have to think this much. I just wanted to do it. So I'm going to go continue because I want it to build out the guide about 200% longer with all these details, but it should still come out with my logo, with my colors, with my fonts. So let's see how it goes with that. Poor Claude is taking a while. It does do it. It's just I've got it on the extended version, which is a very processor intense version. So I probably should have dialed that down to more the default version because it doesn't actually need all that power, the highest power version of Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT to do it. It can use a very basic version of them. So what we build over here in Gemini, we now are starting to build the same thing here in ChatGPT. So it's ready to host single file HTML guide. So it's now copying this file away. So this is good. So over here, you'll see in ChatGPT, you've got a preview button here. Once it actually writes all the code, that's when we can hit that preview button. We can see what it actually looks like. Claude is still battling away over here. What I probably should do is, it doesn't usually take this long, so I don't usually use this version. That was a mistake on my part, but you get the idea. It's exactly the same process. As you can see, this is now building out all this code in ChatGPT. Not quite as fast as Gemini, but still pretty good. Certainly a lot faster than Claude is. Claude does a lot in one shot, and then it'll come up back after a few minutes and then go, whoosh, here it's done, and surprise you with this amazing looking construction that it's made. So while it's doing all this code, we're starting to see that it's coming together. Back to Claude, still going. And the next step after this is you look at this and go, well, that's great. It's living here in my Gemini, or it's living here in my ChatGPT, or living here in my Claude. But that's not obviously where it's going to be, where I give access to people to get to it. And that's where your own web hosting comes into play. Or it could be your own website you can paste this into. I know that in people who have WordPress websites can put in custom HTML blocks in their content within the website design. So if you can do that, and I know Wix and Squarespace do this as well. They allow you to copy in blocks of outside code that can then render inside the browser. The different security settings on different browsers may prevent you from doing it all the time, depending on how technical you've made it. But what I've done here very deliberately is told it to make this simple code just in HTML and CSS and JavaScript, not by adding things like React or any of those things that require extra server resources that most people don't have. And that most things like, Wix and WordPress are not going to let you do that. They have to actually has the HTML code, the basic code of the World Wide Web. So here we go. So Claude's finally got there for us. So I'll pull this across so you can see it there. So it hasn't brought through my logo, but when I go live with this on the actual internet, it will do that. It's a little bit different. So it's got a reflection prompt. So it's got, again, a lot of this very graphical look to it. It's got quizzes, but the quizzes aren't sort of hidden away. It's in a big block. Long game defined. Look, this is still pretty good. Like this is still very much in the style which I want. Look at this, 2 columns as well. So it's got little clicky bits here. It's created a bloody good, actually, it's really good. Look at this, the count up of the stats. It's actually made it really long. So in one way, it's actually done it more correctly. Look at this, moving waves as well. This is crazy. This is actually really good. So I actually might have to swing out of Gemini and into Claude to make them from now on. The pyramid doesn't look as good, but it's sort of got it right. But the rest of it, these quizzes, the waves, the moving stuff, the very interactive stuff is really great. Got a big commitment checklist, and then your statement, I commit to do this, and then the call to action. So it has done a really, really good job here. So I'm really happy. It did take longer, but it's done a really good job. Now, mind you, I did this with the highest version of Claude, not the I didn't do it in the highest version of Gemini, but Gemini looks about the same in the highest version or the fast version. ChatGPT should be getting very close to finished right now. Not quite, still going, buddy. Yeah, still battling on. So it doesn't write code quite as fast, but it will come up. So now we've got this version, we've got our Gemini version. Gemini probably does look the best simply because it's rendered the logo here, whereas Claude will do when I go live, but can't display it inside here. And ChatGPT just about finished, I think. Oh, it must be getting really close. Can't be that far off now. So what I'm going to do now is talk about how we put this online. We'll get to look at ChatGPT shortly. So when I put it online, I tend to have got a version of my, so I've got a clickstarter.com.au domain that I use, but I've also got subdomains that I've created around that. So I'm not going to go through the depth of all that, but if you need help with that, that's something that you can get some help with, is creating a subdomain. Inside my subdomain, I've got learn.clickstarter.com.au. So in there, so I can see under my websites, I've set up a learn.clickstarter.com.au, learn.trainforpurpose.com.au, reports.clickstarter.com.au. I've created those within this web hosting where I've got several things. My actual website, clickstarter.com.au, is over on a customer relationship management service called High Level. It hosts the website itself, but I host all these reports separate to that and link them into the website because I don't necessarily want them all the same. So what I will do is go to this learn.clickstarter.com.au, the site tools there, and I go into the folder structure of my web server, which sounds really terrifying and scary. It's not really. If you know where you're going, it's not really that hard. I go on the site and file manager. It might be different on your server. This uses its own custom interface. A lot of web hosts use a thing called cPanel, which is very, very similar to this. You can go into a file manager and see where your files are. Now, public HTML is where all the live website pages live. I've got a folder structure here for different things I do and work for. The first one I want to do is probably 2026, right? In 2026, I've created folders for each of these presentations. So in the case of this one, I'm just going to call this one a new folder, and I'm going to call it new test and confirm. What this is telling me, these names, is the structure of what I'm creating the website address as. So it's going to be learn.clickstarter.com.au / and then it's going to be new dash test. And that will be where it is. Now, of course, I haven't put any code in here. All I've done is just created a folder. Inside these folders, I'll go in the self-acceptance one. See, there's an index.html. That's the site that will come up, or the page that will come up when I go to that address, which will learn.clickstarter.com.au / 2026 / self-acceptance. So if we go back to the other one, which is my new one, the new test, I need to create a new file, which will be index.html. I confirm that, and then I can copy in the code from where I created it. So I'm going to take the Claude one, I think, because I've never placed a Claude one on here. I'm going to copy it. I could take the Gemini and do the same. Let's see how ChatGPT is doing. Has it finished yet? Gosh, it's still going. It's creating a lot of code. Let's whack it in there, paste it, save it. And now what I'm going to do is go to learn.clickstarter.com.au / 2026 / new dash test. Here it is. And told you it rendered my Clickstarter logo. So it's done all that stuff. That is now live on the internet with all those funky little things. It'll have that wavy thing that came up before. Exactly the same look. There we go. Where's the wave? I want to see the wave. There you go. Here's the waves. And we keep going. So it looks fantastic, all right? It looks really, really good. It's even got that little, look at this little progress meter over here at the top, how it goes across. That is some clever code. Really is. They've done a really fantastic job of that. I'm really happy with it. Still in my style, still in my fonts, still in my colors. Really happy with that. I could do the same with the Gemini one. I could switch this back to code. So I can go code, grab all that code, highlight it, copy, go in here, replace the code that's there, save it again. Might need to do a funny little thing. Should be, nope, it's retain the other one, but all I can do is clear. I can do some cache clearing on here. So I usually go into speed and then into caching. I can clear the cache on that server and it will then show up the new stuff. So dynamic cache, clear it out. If I click to this page, it should show up the new version. There we go. And there's the Gemini version. So there's a few things you need to know about web hosting, I guess, in there. I really love the way it did this. Yeah, that pyramid really did a good job of that in Gemini. But it's a much shorter guide than the one that was in Claude. How's Chatty doing? Still going, the poor little thing. Still trying to render all that code. It's putting a lot of compute into that code. I am expecting a spectacular result at the end of this. Oh, it's down the bottom, the call to action. So we're very close, very, very close to the end. So I'm expecting something spectacular for it to create, given the amount of time it's taken to create it. So we'll get that idea too. Now, the reason I'm showing all three is to show you can do all of this in all three. So when I send you through the instructions and then you replace it with your little bits and pieces, it's going to work in any of these tools that you have. So almost there, the utilities, it's going to do a little bit of utilities coding in there as well. Gosh, I'm going to go up the top. There's one thing I need to check to make sure it actually obeyed my most basic requirement of it, which is to wrap the whole thing in HTML, which it has. So it has doc type HTML. So it has obeyed all my commands. So I've been very clear on what I expected of it. So, and it worked in the other two tools. So it should work in this. There's other tools that you can use like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini are not the only one. You've of course got Perplexity. Perplexity doesn't do code great. It's okay. It can do it, but it's not particularly brilliant like these three are. Grok, I've tried. I can never make anything work particularly well in Grok. It's just not built for serious work. It's like a meme AI. It's just got certain things about it that it's very, very powerful, but it just gets some basic things wrong, particularly around obeying what you've actually asked it to do. And here we go, we're nearly there. So what you've done, we've created this page. We can explore the philosophies. We can scroll around, take the mini quiz, opens it up, goes through those sets. I'm going to swap it back to the Claude version because I really liked the Claude version. Go back into my site tools, update the code, save it. Have to clear out that little cachey thing again so I can get it replaced, and it'll come back now with the Claude bit. Yep, now this is the Claude version again. So you can see how quick it is to change these and put them online, if you know where to put them, of course. It's going to be a little bit different in everyone's stuff. Now, there is another way of doing this. I don't have a WordPress website at the moment, but you can go into WordPress into any of your content blocks, whether it's using the Gutenberg editor or it's using Divi or Elementor. They've all got the ability to be able to put in a custom HTML or a code block. So that's what you'll do. You'll copy this exact code that I've used in here in Gemini or in ChatGPT or in Claude, copy that code into a code block, and it will render that whole site page inside your page. Now, to make it look like it belongs inside your page rather than it just sort of hosting a page inside there, you may have to do some little tweaks in there with the code. I'm sure you're probably not that comfortable with doing that. But if you are, you can tweak some things to not show things like a menu or a header or, my little logo block that I've got at the top, just so you don't have to, it doesn't look like you're trying to include an outside piece of the internet on there. That's the only difference you need to make. So there's a few little things you might need to change to make it not look like that. I have done that kind of thing on my Clickstarter website. If I go into my resources and tools, I've made the tools in here not look like they are outside things. So the disk profile tool looks like it belongs in my website, but it's not. It's actually an outside piece of code that lives outside of my website. It's not actually in the website itself. And it's got this questionnaire that goes through there. You can do a disk profiling example. So that's how you could, I've specifically made it look like that without any header. And I just simply told the AI tool, don't create headers. Just make this so that it can be embedded in as part of a page that inherits the style of whatever page it happens to be in. And by giving it that instruction, it seemed to work. All right, how are you doing, ChatGPT? You're still going, buddy. My goodness. It's doing something really big. Like I'm expecting something huge out of ChatGPT. Here it is, finally done it. So I can now preview this. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm expecting something stunning in here. So allow, yes, allow. Let's go. Right. It's not showing anything. Okay. That's not helpful. So what I'm going to do, copy all this. I'm going to put it into my web server. Let's see if we can make it work. So typical of ChatGPT. You think it's going to do something brilliant, and then it does this. So it's got to I've got to get out all the extra chatting stuff that's got in there. So it doesn't let you just copy the code. Oh my goodness. So let's go down to the beginning of the code. It's just down here. Right now we should be fine. Save. And I'll clear out that cache again. And then we'll refresh. Let's see what it does. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT created for us. So it's long game dash. Okay, interesting. It's got a dashboard. You mid guys save your progress. You can save your progress. Now, this is interesting. It's got some interesting features I did not expect. This is a lot more comprehensive. Look at the detail. This is going in multiple columns. This has created a whole learning guide, done a nice little wave there. You can, where am I in the current wave? It shows you a progress guide. This is pretty incredible. It just based it upon me wanting to make it twice as long and make it really interactive. I have to say, ChatGPT took its time. It has produced something absolutely like beyond my expectations. So I'm really surprised. Still got my booking button down here. So you book the breakthrough you need, what you'll walk away with. You've got lots of interactivity. I'm really happy with that. I could go live with that. That looks fantastic. And if I wanted to insert this on my website, what I could say is go back into ChatGPT and tell it, remove the menu header, remove the logo, and just make this so I can insert it into an existing page on our website. And it will do all that. It will remove all that because it doesn't need all this stuff. I've just got that because I usually post these and send these alone on their own. Wow, pretty impressed by that. Now, this is all great. You can do it, but how do you put this together? I'm going to send you the instructions so you can, piece this together yourself. I'm just going to grab it from my doc. So what we're going to do is I'll show you the doc I'm going to send you. Should be able to find it here somewhere. There you go. Creating an online guide from your training materials. So what I've got here is some instructions saying you paste everything from context onwards. The default tool will be gems in Canvas. Claude will work it out for itself. When your guide is generated, you need to copy the code it produces into your own web server. I've got some basic instruction there, but you'll still need to work that part out largely for yourself in your web hosting. If you're using content management system, you might be able to copy the code into a custom HTML code block. So I've got some information in there for you. Here's the instructions you're going to put into your project, your gems, your artifacts, your GPTs, right? The context is you're an expert web designer and interactive online guide creator. So we want to set the context that this thing knows what it's doing. And it's going to use standard web hosting. So use any web technologies that can be wrapped in an HTML file. This is really important because common web hosting and content management systems don't often have all those extra plugins to render certain kinds of code. So you have to make sure this works on everyday web display code. I've got a style guide in here, which is my color palette. And you replace this with your colors here. With my brand font, you replace with your brand fonts. The aesthetic is round corners with high contrast for easy reading. So has it done that over here? Yeah, high contrast, easy reading. You can read all that. Very easy to read. It hasn't, it's definitely nailed that. So it's got that far. I've said that it needs to have a gentle professionalism for the rounded corners, but you can put your brand feel in there. The hero section of the guide has this background color and font colors of either white. So that's a blue, that's sort of a dark blue, and that's a yellow. So the font colors being the white or the yellow. Let's see what it did in the guide. It did, the hero section, yellow, white on dark blue. It did it. It did it correctly. Right, all outputs to be marked as, I've got my own copyright in there. You replace with yours and the current year with the company name linked to Clickstarter. So if I go to the bottom of that, it's going to have copyright Clickstarter, Clickstarter education linked through. Great. Built for standard web hosting, saves progress locally in your browser. So it doesn't need that. I could actually tell it to remove that, but it doesn't need that necessarily, but it doesn't not need it either. Top left has a logo, which I've hot linked into this location, which is a place on the internet where I've stored my logo. So I can always call it forward in things. You can't load a logo into these. It's not like a website builder. So has it done that? Yes, it has. Here it is. and it's linked it through to my website. So if I click on that, it goes through to my website. See? Great. Okay, next. All spelling needs to be Australian English. That's usually the case with people on my webinars. Every page needs the following code. I've inserted my Google Analytics tag into every one of these so that in my analytics, it picks up when these pages have been accessed. So that's really important if you want to track things. I do. The sequence is where we now start the start thing. So I put in start and it begins the series of questions. Step one, ask them what the name of it will be. Step two, ask the user to paste or put in the transcript or the materials. Step three, do they want a call to action? I have got a default one, which is book a consultation with me, get the breakthrough you need, and then a link through to mine. Or whether you want a different CTA. So you can replace with your own in there. And then if you want a different one, you can then put a different one in there as well. Then generate the guide based upon the context above and the style guide provided. And that's the end of your instructions. You can test it out, give it a go, and that's how it works. So I'm going to send you this exact guide through your email, probably in the next half an hour. And that will be ready for you to be able to use on yours to get exactly the same kind of thing. You can put your design. That's why I've got your style guide, every bit that's highlighted in yellow, you can replace with the things that are appropriate for your business. The hardest bit for you will probably be if you're not familiar with web hosting, getting into your web hosting and doing this stuff. But I've got some basic information in there that can kind of get you started with that. But if you don't know how to do that with your web hosting or your excuse me, or with your website, all you need to do is get in touch with your web hosts. They can help to guide you through that, hopefully. If you're paying enough, they definitely do. In the case of your website, maybe your web designer can give you some quick pointers on how to do that regularly, so you don't always have to get in touch with them to do it. But if the result is something that looks like this, where you've got something really interesting you can use, particularly I use it after webinars like this, because what I don't want to do is leave people just the slides, because sometimes I don't use slides like today. So I'll give them a guide that'll help them be able to do this for themselves, and they'll be able to carry on afterwards rather than trying to remember something or jot down notes or screenshotting the screen as I go through.